We're really good at waving the flag and boasting how much we honor and respect those who risk and sacrifice their lives to fight for our country. We haven't always been so good at looking after veterans when they come home. Tonight, Jacqueline Matter reports on the new effort to deal with the alarming number of veterans taking their own lives.
Kim Gillespie is just one of nearly 1 million veterans living on the Suncoast not getting the mental health they need.
I didn't know what was wrong with me.
A recent study by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration shows that only half of returning vets who need mental health care receive services. The battle they're fighting? Stigma. Something the Bay Pines VA healthcare system chief of mental health says they're constantly working to break.
It is easier for me to say that I have chest pain and cardiac disease than for me to say that I have depression, that I'm not feeling well, and that I think everything is hopeless and it's better off to die.
Some 22,000 vets used mental health services at Bay Pines VA last year. Clinicians screen vets for depression, PTSD, substance abuse, and suicide, which has become the VA secretary's top clinical priority after numbers have skyrocketed in recent years.
It doesn't spare anybody. We all know somebody who knows somebody, or a friend or a family member or a colleague that has gone through suicide.
As more and more veterans come forward with their mental health issues, Bay Pines has now implemented a new program called Reach Vet, which started 3 months ago.
Identifies the top 0.1% of veterans at risk just by reviewing the health records of these veterans. So what happens when we identify these veterans? These names are provided to the clinicians so they can re-engage those particular veterans or enhance the care of those particular veterans to minimize the risk of suicide.
Still, Carino says nearly 70% of veterans are not getting assistance from the VA.
Some of the patients are not returning to care. They choose to cancel an appointment, let's say. So by identifying these veterans, we have the providers and the staff reach out to them and re-engage them into care.
Which is exactly what happened for Army veteran Kim Gillespie after missing an appointment with her primary care doctor.
Once they assessed me in mental health, they realized that I needed inpatient care.
The former communications specialist was sexually assaulted while serving overseas in Germany. After that incident, she got out, returned home, and became detached from her family. She decided moving to Florida was her next best option, but the trauma of her attack soon took its toll.
The self-medication increased. I was inconsistent at work. I couldn't keep relationships. I started having encounters with law enforcement. So overall, my life really started to spin and spiral out of control.
After months of isolation and barricading herself in her apartment, the battle she was fighting brought her to her darkest moment.
Not knowing what was wrong with me. The only end result at that time I could see was taking my own life.
It's a thought many veterans go through. In fact, nearly 22 veterans a day commit suicide. Bay Pines' suicide prevention team uses analytic tools, outpatient care, and education in hopes of reducing that number to 0.
It didn't matter whether it was 20 veterans a day, or 3 veterans a day, or 2 veterans a day that committed suicide. One is too many.
The specialized programs at Bay Pines also include daily schedules filled with classes like trauma education, anger management, and coping skills. Gillespie says those classes have helped her gain a better understanding of what she suffers from.
The VA with a team is the one thing that I really differentiate from any place else that I could go. It's not just one doctor here, it's a team of doctors. Even from nutrition to rec therapy to spiritual guidance, if that's something that you choose, to help get my life on the right track.
Being on that right track is where Carino says you can help. He says engaging someone when they're hopeful can be the difference between life or death.
One moment, you have really an intent of really ending your life. But it may be that with some intervention, that turns around at that moment again, and you postpone it and you say, no, not now, maybe later. That's the opportunity that we have.
After 6 months in treatment, Gillespie says she's heading home now knowing how to cope and take life one step at a time.
I'm excited. I'm a little fearful, but I know I'm not going home alone. I know the VA is also going home with me. I know in my heart the change that I want to be today is totally opposite of who I was before.
In St. Petersburg, Jacqueline Matter, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
Coming up, an incredible panel from the Veterans Administration to a vet on the front lines of helping others and a watchdog dedicated to getting vets the services they deserve. Stay with us.